All right, guys, so this audio was originally part of episode 1 of the Geekdom101 podcast, so I wanted to share it with you guys here on YouTube. This is the first episode of the podcast where myself and Quaman discuss what it's like to have a full-time living on YouTube and the trials and tribulations that we've dealt with since starting on this platform. I'm going to go ahead and play for you guys the audio of me and Quaman from the podcast. And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, you should definitely do that. We are on iTunes. We are on Google Music, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, whatever you want to call it. We're on all those platforms. The website is geekdom101.libsyn.com, and the link will be down below for you to subscribe and check that out. Get the RSS feed so you can listen to every episode. Let's go ahead and get to the audio for episode 1 of the Geekdom101 podcast. Myself and Quaman discussing life as a full-time YouTuber, something that I think everybody needs to listen to, and maybe we can inspire you guys to, do what you want to do in life, whether it be YouTube or something else, whatever you think, whatever you want. This is for you, because you'll learn a lot about me and Quaman and our journeys. Anyways, let's get to it now. All right, so I'm back here on the Geekdom101 podcast, the debut edition here, coming to you out of your car speakers, your headphones, or wherever we may be. And joining me, we're going to talk about life as a full-time content creator, the pros and cons. This man has been a full-time content creator for many, many years online, specifically on YouTube. And he's a good friend of mine. He's been in my home several times, slept in my house, not with me, but he has slept here. Please welcome Quaman, otherwise known as Quinn, to the Geekdom101 podcast. And if you've watched me on the Geekdom101 channel, you know who this is. I mean, he's there.
What's up, everybody? It's good to be back.
Yeah, well, remember, this is the Geekdom101 podcast, bro. We're not doing a video, so you can say whatever the hell you want, bro. We don't have to worry about demonetization here. This is uncut raw, no holds barred, man.
It's all good.
So, I figured the first episode, a good first episode for this new series I got here, this new podcast series, would be to talk about life as a content creator full time, because I've been doing it for 3 years. When I first started, though, I had a full-time job. I actually went full-time in January of 2016. Well, actually, no, it was December 2015. It was December 2015. That's when I had decided to do it full-time, and you've been doing it longer than I have. So I wanted to kind of talk to you and kind of get some insight, because I think a lot of people, some folks just watch our videos on YouTube. I mean, you and I produce Dragon Ball content. You've dabbled in other things in the past, too, like that 90s kids show where you had a bunch of kids on there that weren't even 90s kids. I'm a 90s kid, bro. You didn't even have me on there. But we'll talk about the 90s on here
90s babies. I should have called it that.
Well, that's okay, because with this podcast, we can always go back and talk about 90s shows on here. We can do anything. This is geek culture. But I think a lot of folks are intrigued by this. I think some people want to know kind of what it's like. And, how long have you been doing this? And how long was it before you actually made it your full-time living? Would you take us back through those days?
Yeah, sure. So pretty much I started making YouTube videos in high school. I started working on videos late 2011. So from there on, I would say from my senior year, going into my senior year of high school to, I would say, the last 6 years, I've pretty much been doing YouTube every single year. And I started making money, livable money off of YouTube in late 2014. And it was kind of weird because, for about a year, and you know this better than anybody, Geekdom, that I was making videos and I wasn't making any money because I didn't really care. I started talking to Rhymestyle one day, and he's like, bro, you could actually make money off of this. You should join a network. And then it became a hobby/business at the same time, and that's when my life actually changed, especially as a college student that needs money to pay for classes and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, also, we have to clarify for the people. Yeah. One of the things that a lot of folks don't know about your particular story is that you at one time got screwed over by YouTube big time because your whole channel was put, and I've actually verified that there are secret algorithms on YouTube. I've talked to people inside YouTube and who have worked for Google ads privately, and there are secret algorithms out on YouTube, and there is such thing as having a blacklisted channel. Now, your channel was not blacklisted as far as like unviewable content or anything like that, but excuse me, at one time your channel was put in a category where you could not monetize. No matter what, you had to go to a multi-channel network, which I've never been on, and there's pros and cons to them. But at one time, you were actually making content for what, like 9 months, and couldn't even make a penny off of it?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you know, just being a naive college student, you know, that lives with his parents, I mean, you don't really care about the money. Like, I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, money's nice and it could help me, but like, you know, when you're that young, like, you don't really put everything into perspective, you know, and it's just crazy to think that I went through and made so many videos that grossed a lot of views and I never made a penny off of them. And quite honestly, I think it made me a more knowledgeable person when I got older, you know?
I mean, what was driving you back then, bro? Like, what was it? Because you weren't making money, and a lot of people did YouTube back then. This is like 2014. Didn't even realize you could monetize. They didn't introduce the monetization portion of the platform until 2010. And there were some YouTubers that were around before then. The whole algorithm changed. I had done a lot of research on this. The whole algorithm changed in 2010. But that being said, what was it that was driving you? Because if you're not, you know, you weren't trying to be a businessman. You weren't trying to make a living. You were just doing it for fun?
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, because, I mean, if you think about it, like, remember, I was starting videos ever since high school just for boredom fun. Like, for those of you who don't remember, like, I started off my channel as a Yu-Gi-Oh channel, so I just was playing Yu-Gi-Oh games as a hobby, and sometimes I would record them, and then I was always saying to myself, you know, I really love this Dragon Ball thing, why don't I do discussions on it? And, you know, show and behold, there were a few Dragon Ball YouTubers like SSJ Goshin, Vegito 1089, Maria DBZ Babe, but nobody really, like, talked about Dragon Ball in, like, a discussion format other than Black and Fist. You know, so when that happened, I was like, I just want to talk about this show that I love, and I've never had a chance to have discussions, you know, verbally, even though people have always done forums, and I felt that YouTube gave me a platform to talk about all these things I've ever thought about in the Dragon Ball franchise, and show and behold, that's kind of how this whole Dragon Ball YouTuber thing started for me.
Yeah, no, and I understand that totally. Like, like, when it comes to my story, without going into the entire history, I didn't even want to make Dragon Ball videos. Like, I started my Geekdom101 channel. It was originally called The Epitome of Geekdom, which was like 100 years ago. But the idea was that I was going to recruit. I originally wanted to recruit people on YouTube to work for my website or to post content on my website, which was superfriendsuniverse.com. And when I started doing it, you know, I started looking for people, and I remember I found this guy named Mike Zero. Now, Mike Zero, at the time, was doing, like, Call of Duty content. Then he was doing a little bit of movie stuff, Dragon Ball and Star Wars. Now, Mike Zero and I, needless to say, we didn't get along at all. At first we did. Then he kind of crossed a few lines with me, and I realized what he was about. And as of right now, Mike Zero is actually, like, you know, he's been pretty much booted out of the Dragon Ball community, and he's about to get booted out of the Star Wars community. Like, he's the absolute opposite of what I respect as far as content creation goes. Literally makes up stories, makes claims that he's got people working in Lucasfilm. Like, he's just a completely trash person and a trash content creator. I'm not afraid to say that. I've said it before. He's hot garbage. And when we had our falling out, I was like, you know what? Why am I giving this guy? Because I already had inside information. When Resurrection F was coming out, I had a whole bunch of scoops that I gave to him. And thinking he was going to be my Dragon Ball guy. And it didn't work out. So I was like, why don't I just do it my damn self? And at the time, YouTube was very different because you're right. There weren't a lot of discussion channels back then. There were a few. A lot of it was gaming stuff. And a lot of the problem with Dragon Ball YouTubers back then is that a lot of them were, you know, not trying to be disrespectful, but they were dubbies. And I wanted to bring a much more hardcore perspective. A lot of people during that time period had never seen Dragon Ball in Japanese. They only saw it dubbed. And there's a lot of problems with the original Dragon Ball Z dub. So you had people getting information wrong. You had people listening to fake rumors throughout the years. You had all these different things going on. And I decided to come in with a totally different approach. There was a bunch of channels that were doing gameplay footage, you know, talking over it. I know you and I talked about that when we first met. I decided not to do that. I didn't want to be the guy to have Xenoverse footage in the background of me talking over it. Instead, I wanted to do, even if it's one picture or if it's like different pictures, I wanted to do something different, to look different, sound different, and that's what I decided to do. But really, back to the whole thing about being a full-time content creator. So you were just kind of a high school kid, and you kind of tripped and fell into this thing. It wasn't like you started doing this with the intention of doing it full-time, right?
Nope. I mean, I remember, like, I didn't even start this for Dragon Ball. Like, I was just literally a bored kid that wanted to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Then I became a bored kid that wanted to talk about Dragon Ball, and then I became a bored kid that started getting subscribers and making money off of this and meeting new people off of this. And it was like, this is weird. Like, I'm just a kid. Like, I don't take this that seriously, you know what I'm saying? Like, but then when the money started coming in and competition and everything, then like everything completely changed and I had to mature, the type of content that I was producing, you know what I mean?
Do you remember the first time you made like a big amount of money? Like, and when I say a big amount of money, I mean like let's say like, I don't want to use
a livable amount for like a normal person.
Yeah, like, do you remember when that happened, and like, what was your reaction to that?
It happened in late 2014. It was right after Rhymestyle told me to join a network, and I remember, so when I was able to monetize a lot more of my videos, like, I was making a little bit of money before with AdSense, but since, like, almost all of my videos were, like, blocked, I couldn't make it much. And then when I joined the network, I remember, like, I had, like, 20 days worth of income, which was the most money I ever made in my life. In those 20 days, I can't disclose the specific amount because just for confidentiality. But
no, we don't have to talk about that.
Right, yeah. And then that the December of that 2014, like I made a pretty like normal livable amount of income, and I'm like, like this could really help me out with school. And then over time, I saved up to buy a car that I probably shouldn't have bought, but I bought a nice car.
Yeah, you were young.
Yeah, I mean, you make mistakes, and that car's long gone now. But and then from there on out, I just started to mature, and it's kind of one of those things, Geekdom, and I'm not gonna put myself in the athlete category because I wasn't making anywhere near as much money as an athlete, right?
Of course.
The athlete. I kind of have that athlete mentality where you're a kid that's never really had a lot of money your whole life, always was living off of what mom and dad was able to give you, and then all of a sudden you're making a pretty decent amount of money or a pretty good amount of money compared to what you ever made in your whole life. And as you've talked to me about before, Geekdom, and you've given me a lot of advice as I've grown, when you give a kid that's never had money in his life money, he's going to make mistakes, right? And that's what happens.
To all of us.
Right. It happens to a lot of these athletes who get a lot of money at a young age. It just happens. Young people getting money for the first time, they're going to make mistakes. And I feel like that's one of the best things about looking at this YouTube journey,
And that's one thing I also want to go back to something you said a minute ago.
Yeah.
You started as a Yu-Gi-Oh guy, which is true.
Yeah.
Doing Yu-Gi-Oh card game stuff, and then you switched over to Dragon Ball. And I do want to tell people who are watching this who have who want to do content creation, whether it be Twitch, YouTube, or whatever, your first venture into creating content may not be a success. And that's one thing I do want to really hammer home to people, because I think sometimes, and me and Ryan have talked about this too, I think people give up too soon sometimes. Like, if you're starting off and you're covering, let's say you're covering Star Wars, and then something like Episode 8 happens, and, it kind of hurts the fandom. Because no matter what, that hurt the fandom. Our friends, well, I know them a little bit better than you because I actually met them in Orlando. They have been suffering lately because the views are not what they used to be. For 2015, 2016, Star Wars videos on YouTube were killer. After Last Jedi, people genuinely lost interest, and that's actually, we're going to talk about that here in a minute too, because we're going to talk about like the unpredictability of YouTube. But the thing is, if you start off making videos and what you're covering, whether it be a movie or a video game, gets old, I actually met a guy in Orlando who had a 200,000 subscriber channel, I think, and he was getting virtually no views at all. And now, because his channel was all GTA and Call of Duty, and granted, GTA and Call of Duty, they're not bad games. Obviously, GTA has seen better days, I can say. I'm sorry, Call of Duty has seen better days. GTA comes out every few years, so you can't build a whole channel on a game that comes out every few years. It's going to die. His channel's pretty much dead. But I feel like when it comes to the content creation, if you don't succeed on one thing and you have another interest that you're passionate about, there's nothing wrong with switching over and trying something new. There's nothing wrong. In fact, before we started recording, you and I were talking about, diversifying your content and expanding. And for a while, when I first started doing the channel, Geekdom101, I wanted it to be an all geek hub. I was going to talk about all things geek. And that's kind of what this podcast is now. It's pretty much what I wanted to do with the channel originally, because YouTube has this thing where if you don't cover one genre from the start, you're going to end up like the algorithm, because everything in YouTube is based on algorithm, and unfortunately Google does not tell us what the algorithm is ever. So there was a time about a year and like 3 months ago, 3 months of the year ago, 15 months ago, where they changed the algorithm to where anything that wasn't your particular niche as far as search algorithms go wasn't going to go to your channel. So for example, my channel, anything that I did that was not Dragon Ball Super would tank in views. And not only will it tank, it would actually affect the next video. So if I did, with Geekdom101, if I did a Dragon Ball Super video and then all of a sudden I decided to do a video about Naruto, right, the Naruto one might tank in views compared to the Dragon Ball. It might still do good, but it might not do that well. Then the next Dragon Ball one gets affected. So in my head, I'm like, okay, by that time I was doing this full time. I can't diversify on one channel. And that was a problem that we had, and I think that's still a problem. I think there's only a few channels out there that really can diversify, and it does require doubling or tripling your work ethic. You have to work 3 times as hard. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's why I'm doing this podcast. It's just that not everybody can do it, and also you're pretty much at the mercy of the algorithm when it comes to doing this full time. And what sucks is that YouTube gives us all a platform to be, and not just YouTube, podcasting, blogging, the internet, gives us a platform to be creative, but the limitations they put on it, if you want to be creative and be a businessman, it can be tough sometimes. Not all the time, but it can be tough sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to totally agree with you that, especially on the diversification thing, because it's like, when I started doing, like, and I think a lot of people take this too literally, but when I started doing Dragon Ball, like, discussions, I never intended that to be, like, the majority of my content. I just started...
Me neither. Dude, I wanted to do Dragon Ball, Star Wars, and Marvel. And then I discovered Comics Explained, and I'm like, okay, he does the comic shit better than I could ever do. Because I knew a lot, but not as much as him. Then for Star Wars, I found Stupendous Wave and Star Wars Explained. I'm like, okay, they do my shit better than... They do Star Wars better than I do. Yeah. Even though I have some video topics they've never covered before that I might do one day. So my thing was Dragon Ball. And really, my thing's always been Dragon Ball. So I kind of had to gravitate towards that. Plus, the problem is that when you become so ingrained in one community, like you and I have, it's our community now. And we're stuck here. We're not really stuck here, but our main channels are, in a way, stuck here because we're so synonymous with that community.
Right. And not to mention, the people who are subscribing to you specifically for that. So if you do other type of content, they might not want to watch you. So there's a lot of, like, threats to doing, like, other things on YouTube. And, as I was saying, like, I didn't expect Dragon Ball to be the main thing. I just kind of dabbled with it, noticed it got way more views than all of my Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. And I also noticed that I had a lot of stuff to talk about. But it's kind of one of the funny things about all this geekdom, Danny, because I feel like the best part about YouTube is that you can naturally just evolve your channel into something without having to, like, actually put your handprint on it. Like, sometimes channels are just made organically, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to, like, come in here with a plan. You just kind of go with the flow, do your thing, and your channel kind of develops on its own. You know what I'm saying?
And the thing about YouTube and Twitch also, because they're both kind of hand in hand, one thing that irritates me, and I've ranted about this I don't know how many times, more so privately than publicly, is... the people who... Because the thing about being a YouTuber, especially being a high-profile one, is that you're going to get a lot of shit from people. And most of the shit that I've gotten, I would say about 90% of it is complete and utter horse shit. Like, people will say things just to piss you off, or they'll say things in ignorance, and it's amazing to me how ignorant it is. What pisses me off about YouTube is that whenever somebody has the audacity to not so much criticize, but to try to bring you down and to insult you and to attack you and claim that your content is garbage or claim that you suck, YouTube is essentially, and Twitch, they are modern day forms of capitalism. Anybody can get a YouTube account. It's free. sign up, and within a very short time, now it's not as easy as it used to be because they have some new regulations in there, but within a very short time, if you work hard enough, you can end up starting to make money and growing your brand on YouTube. You can do it because I've done it. You've done it. Rhyme's done it. Literally all of our friends have done it. There are literally living examples. There are living examples. Dino didn't get a freaking loan from his parents. Your parents didn't give you a business loan to start your business. I sure as hell didn't get it. None of our friends got anything. They just started uploading. They had charisma. They had knowledge. They had talent, whatever the case is. And a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have turned this into a full-time business. I know at least 10 YouTubers, I'm not going to say who, that make 6 figures a year doing YouTube. At least 10. And I know at least 25 that make more on average than the average person. I know people who make 60K a year, 50K a year, 80K a year. And it's like, what boggles my mind is that rather than talk shit, YouTube is the best modern form of capitalism. If you think your channel is better than Comics Explained, why the fuck don't you make your own fucking channel and prove him wrong? If you think that Geekdom101 sucks, and you think that my Dragon Ball videos are garbage, which by the way they're not, and I'm not saying that out of ego, I know my own worth. If you have the audacity to say that, you can create a new fucking channel tomorrow and beat me at my own game, and these dudes never fucking do it. They never do it. See, it's kind of funny, Quinn, because almost everybody I've ever met who does content creation at a successful level, never ever talk shit. You know, like I've got people, bro, we know people who are full-time YouTubers, and they never sit there and disrespect your videos or my videos. It's always the small fry who are fucking salty, who are fucking basement-dwelling fucking virgins who live. And I don't mean to use that word. If you're a virgin, it's fine. I'm just saying, like, these people, they just talk and 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 talk. And I'm like, dude, if I suck so bad, why don't you make your own goddamn channel and prove me wrong? It's fucking, and they don't do it because they don't have the fucking balls to or the talent to. And guess what? I do. And I'm telling people out there to never ever let some dickless piece of shit on the internet tell you what you should or should not do with your life and what you should or should not do when it comes to following your craft, whether it be you want to be a painter, a musician, a Twitch streamer, you want to be a professional fighting game guy. I don't give a fuck what your goals are in life, dude. You're going to have some dickless piece of shit who's never accomplished anything in his life trying to tell you that you suck. Why don't you tell him? Say, grow a set of balls and do it yourself, because YouTube gives everyone, dude, YouTube is an even playing field for everyone. You and I know we can't pay off Google to give us better promotion. We can't do that. We can't, haggle with AdSense to get a better rate unless we're already a celebrity. You know how many people, bro, we know that have made full-time livings doing this? And it's like people out there can do it too, and I encourage people to do it. I want people to do it. The more Dragon Ball channels there are, the more we grow as a community, even the clickbaiters. And yet, you've always got that group of fucking losers, bro, masturbating to porn all day. And that my psychiatrist, or not psychologist told me that they literally masturbate to porn all day, and they never get shit done. And it's so stupid because if you get pissed off at the NBA, let's say you're watching the NBA Finals and the referees have like a bad call and they screw over LeBron or Steph Curry or whatever, you can't just tomorrow open up your own basketball league and recruit fucking top stars. You can't do that. On YouTube, if you want to bitch about fucking Boogie or PewDiePie or fucking E3 or any of these guys, iDubbbz, whoever you like, you can open up a channel and prove you can do it better than them. Fucking do it.
Yeah.
And that's what you just deal with so much shit, bro. You deal with so much shit, and you have to have thick skin for it. You know how many people have hit me up, talking about the comments they get. Like, of course you're going to get fucking shitty comments, just how it is, How do you deal with that stuff?
I mean,
I know one way you dealt with it. You disappeared from social media.
But, one thing is, that's mostly just due to the fact that, that wasn't just purely because of YouTube. I just disappeared from social media in general because I just feel like you know, and this is no offense to social media. I think this is the
fuck it. This is the Geekdom101 podcast.
Like I'm just gonna say this. I'm just gonna say this publicly because like a lot of people have wondered. So for those of you who've wondered why I left social media, and for those of you who are curious, I left Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff. I even left like pretty much all Discord servers I was in. And it's nothing to do with I don't want to be around people. It's just that I feel like the way social media is today is you go online and you see a ridiculous amount of forced headlines and negativity just to waste your time.
Constant fucking negativity.
Right.
Every single day I wake up and it's either Trump is great, fuck Trump, this is going on, that's going on, so, you know, oh, hot take, I think this, and it's like, fuck off, dude. You know, go ahead, bro.
And then in other things too, like people just having like these keyboard wars, you know, just talking crap about each other, just like through messages, just publicly, and it's just childish. And it got to the point where it's like I'm also like seeing all these things that people are sharing, and like it's like I only care about 10% of what they're sharing, and it's like, you know what? If I don't feel happy doing this, why don't I make my time more productive? I'll read books, plus, you know, exercise.
Plus, you gotta deal with people talking shit to you and fucking disrespecting you and saying, "Oh, nobody cares. Stop complaining." You try to voice yourself on social media and voice your feelings. Oh, stop complaining, right? But then I'm sitting here complaining about negativity, and there's a difference because, like, if you're emotionally trying, like, seeking help, social media is not the place to do it. But sometimes, you know, you got to have a little bit of class, and even though I hate negativity, if someone else is being negative, I'm not gonna reply to them and be like, "Yo, man, stop crying," when you don't know what the fuck they're going through in the real world.
Right, and that's like, I think like that's the best way to put it, because I feel like because of all these keyboards that everybody has nowadays, like there's kind of like a loss of like there's an actual human being on the other side of that computer. Like I think we forget that. You know, it's kind of like when you play these video games like GTA and you just walk around, you know, the world just shooting people. It's like, dude, like it's not a video game. Like these are real people with real families, real situations. And when you go to their video and just talk and crap and say you're a piece of crap, it's like I put my hard-earned time into working on this. Now, if you don't like my video, that's fine, but you don't have to critique me in a negative way. You could critique me in a positive way. You could, you know, give constructive criticism. You don't have to be a jerk. You know what I'm saying?
No, what they'll do is they'll act like douchebags. Yeah. Then they'll throw the, "Oh, I was just giving you criticism," or, "Hey, man, freedom of speech." Yeah. Fuck you, bro. There's no freedom of speech when it comes to fucking... Freedom of speech means freedom to get fucking blocked and booted, bro, because we have that freedom as well.
Right, and I'm not trying to compare college to YouTube or anything, but it's like in a lot of college courses, you know, that I've taken, like, the professor will, you know, look at how you wrote your paper, and even if you wrote a terrible paper, they will talk about all the good things and the bad things that you did so you can improve. Like, you don't have to be rude about it. You know what I'm saying?
No, not with these fucking people, bro. Yeah. And then the one that really gets under my skin are the ones that talk shit who aren't even content creators. See, the thing about being a content creator, whether it be Twitch or YouTube, is that there's kind of an unspoken code. Now, there's a lot of content creators. Well, not a lot. There's a small handful that I can't stand. There are some that I know are horrible fucking human beings. There are some that I suspect are horrible human beings, but I don't judge them. But there's a few that I know are just big-time pieces of shit, and you know who I'm talking about. And I still don't go out there and look to disrespect their content, disrespect them, unless they do something to piss me off. I just don't wake up every day looking to ruin someone's day, even if I hate them. I don't do that. And there's that unspoken code. But most of the time when people talk shit to you, they're not even a content creator. Like, it's a fucking... Why are you giving me advice on my YouTube channel when I've done pretty fucking well for myself, I would say, considering that I've been doing this full-time for 3 fucking years. To have a job, most people can't even have a 9-to-5 for 3 years nowadays. I've been doing this full-time at a very high level for 3 fucking years. And for somebody to sit there and try to tell me how to run my business when they're a fucking 18-year-old punk ass who just got done with their SAT... I've been through college. I've been through relationships. I've been through breakups. I've been through living on my own. I've had my parents die. Like, you're not going to teach me how to fucking run a business, bro, if you're some 18-year-old punk who just fucking learned how to jack off a few years ago. No, you're not going to teach me that. And these punks, like, it's like they have no self-awareness, bro. I'm not going to take advice on how to cook unless I'm talking to a chef. I'm not going to take advice on YouTube from somebody who doesn't even have a channel. And it's not even about channel size. I got friends who have 20,000, 15,000 subs. Some of them have 3,000. I'll listen to them because at least there's that mutual respect where it's like, all right, you're trying to get where I'm at. You have ambition. You have work ethic. I'm going to listen to you. But some punk-ass kid who doesn't even have a fucking channel trying to tell me how to run my business, like, fuck off with that shit, bro. You know what I mean? Fuck off with it.
Yeah.
Now, to kind of shift the topic around a little bit to something a little bit more positive, I don't want this to be a rant here. So, you did YouTube full-time. Full-time living for how long? How many years?
About 4. Going on 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're a young guy. How important do you think it is? It's a tough question because there's 2 ways to look at it, but I'm going to ask you. How important do you think it is to be a good businessman when it comes to being a content creator as far as doing it full-time? Not as a hobby, not for fun. Like, when did you kind of start thinking, okay, this is more than a hobby now?
It's ironic. I'm not trying to say this in a complimentary way, but it was really when you and Rhymestyle came around and I saw how, like, you guys were a lot older than myself and more mature, and I started just seeing the way that you commanded YouTube. Because before you and Rhymestyle, I never thought of this as a business. I mean, I did, but, like, I just kind of did my own thing. And then when I started seeing other people coming around and how they did things and how they, kind of added their twist to Dragon Ball, it made me realize that I had to add my own twist back. And that's when I started thinking about, making it more of a business. But to answer your first question, though, Geekdom, I think business is extremely important to YouTube if you want to make your channel last a long time. I think that hobby, this is a fun thing, it has, like, a shelf life. But if you want to, like...
Talk about that YouTube honeymoon phase that you always... Remember we talked
Right.
about conversations about that back in the day?
Yeah, so pretty much, to add to what I'm saying here, there's, like, different stages of being in YouTube, and I usually think of it as, like, 3 stages. So you have, like, I'm doing YouTube just because I'm just experimenting and I just want to share my thoughts. Then you have the honeymoon phase where, like, you're getting a lot of subs and money for the first time. So that's like the point where, like, you're starting to get recognition for what's going on. And then the rest is like the plateau. I have to maintain this as a business stage. So you go from hobby to honeymoon to business.
Yeah, and you're going to go up and down. I mean, you're going to have good days, bad days, good years, and bad years. I mean, I'll be honest, and I've said this before, I was incredibly lucky. Because it wasn't just that I wanted to take this seriously, because I didn't even take it seriously until about 9 months in. Like you said, you start out just doing it for fun. Then it's like, hey, I can actually do this full time. What it was that, you, like you said, you eventually take it seriously, but, it's not even about being like the best businessman, I don't think. But I think the idea, and this is something Roberto Blake has always said, is you build a brand. YouTube is your main platform, but you build a brand and you do social media, which I don't even like social media. I mean, to be honest with you, if it wasn't for Geekdom101, I wouldn't even have a Twitter. Like, I mean, I had a Twitter before Geekdom101, but I barely used it. But Twitter has been, like, I can sit here and complain about people bitching on Twitter all day, but I have made more connections with Twitter than I have almost any other platform except for email. I have reached out to people in the business through Twitter, companies through Twitter, voice actors and things like that through Twitter, set up interviews through Twitter. Twitter is a very powerful platform if you use it correctly. You know what I'm saying? It is, and it's all about building your brand, and that's why, like, when I had first started doing it, my main thing was it wasn't about the views. Because you're going to have bad years. I got lucky because I started doing it right when Resurrection F was coming out. I had no idea there was going to be a new Dragon Ball series, and then Super started, and I'm like, whoa, like, wait a minute, there's a new Dragon Ball anime, and then Super got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as it went along. It built up to Universe 6 arc, Future Trunks, and then the Tournament of Power.
Yeah.
And by then, the best month I've ever had financially in the history of my career was the last month Super was on the air. That was the best month I've ever had financially. It was amazing. Obviously, when Super ended, there was a drop-off, but you have to be prepared for that, and you have to know that, things are going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, and there's always going to be a little bit of fear and anxiety, which actually I want to ask you about, okay?
What's up?
Is it just me, and I'm not going to name no names, bro, but why is it that almost everyone that we know who does this has some kind of anxiety or depression? I hate to say that, but I'm just being real, dude. Almost everyone we know has it. It's weird. It's like, is it something that just creative people have?
I think there's a very, I mean, this is a great rabbit hole question. I think it could be coincidental, but I think my theory on this geekdom is that when you have a career that is purely 100% dependent on people watching your content and purely 100% dependent on your creativity, it's a very stressful thing. Now, here's the thing, and I'm not saying it's stressful because there's a lot of fun in doing YouTube. But at the same time, I think something that a lot of people forget is that when you have a job where, let's say you're a police officer or you're a professor or you're a doctor or you're a lawyer, and you have like a set guideline of things to do by your work or wherever you set up, that's very different from having to create an interesting discussion that would want people to watch it every single time. Because one thing Geekdom and I could say is that we have a million video ideas that can last for years, but will you guys actually want to watch those actual videos?
Not just that, but will the algorithm actually push it? Because
right.
we've had problems with sub boxes, and there's people who are like, "Oh, I want to watch your videos," but when did you upload last? Like, fuck, dude. Like I upload almost every day. It's YouTube being broken, and we can't even do anything about it.
There's an infinite amount of good video ideas that exist out there, but it's the point of, will you guys want to watch them? Will the algorithm support all of that? And when you do that, there's a level of pressure that I think seeps onto its creators, that they have to keep living up to a certain standard, and that could really burn out a content creator from time to time. And that's why many times I have had to take breaks, because it's just a lot of creative juice, and you have to be in the right mindset to do this consistently.
Well, I want to ask you about something that's a little bit controversial having to do with that right there. Remember, we're being very candid on this podcast. This is the X-rated, this is the R-rated podcast, bro.
Yeah.
Talk about the effect of competition on the community. Like, and what I mean by that is this: when you first start doing YouTube, you know, like we talked about, or Twitch, whatever. We'll say YouTube. This is a video about, or this is a audio about YouTube. When you first start doing it, it's more for fun. You don't really, you know, then you start growing, like you said. Then people come to you and rely on you. Then somebody else comes along. They grow. And then you don't have to see them as competition, but the minute they start doing better than you, even if it's for a short amount of time, there's some anxiety that kicks in. Because you're like, am I losing my touch? And it's not a very good thing to have. I think we've all had this. It takes time to get over it and kind of have more confidence in your own content, but every so often someone will come along and you'll say, you know, you'll look at what they do and you'll see, okay, what are they doing that's different than me, and why do people watch them? And you kind of, sometimes you kind of, you start to worry. You're like, not for a long time, it doesn't ruin your day or anything, but you're like, okay, like, you feel threatened, like you're going to lose your spot or something like that. I want you to elaborate on that.
Well, I think the best way to put that is I don't think competition is a negative thing at all for the individual, because I feel like competition based off of the law of economics is great because it makes you a better YouTuber. If I never had competition, I would have no incentive to improve my content and improve my editing and all that stuff. I do
not
that.
Not to mention that the more people talking about one topic, the more views and more eyeballs you're going to have on it. Plus, here's where things get really interesting, and this is kind of something that you and I have not really talked about. I don't think we talked about this ever. Maybe a little bit. In some ways, the clickbaiters and the misinformers are, in a way, necessary to exist, because then it lets people know the difference between the real and the fake. They're not going to know the difference between the real and the fake if everyone's real. So the fact that there are bullshit YouTubers out there, I don't entirely hate them, even though I do, because when people come to my channel, they realize that I'm not going to bullshit them. So in some ways, it's that whole, like, balance, the yin and the yang. You know, it's weird for me to say this because I hate clickbait, but it's also one of those things where they're a necessary evil so that people can kind of find the good stuff.
I completely agree with you on that, and that's why a lot of people have, I mean, I'm not going to bring this into like a whole like philosophical conversation, but essentially
do whatever you want, bro. It's the Geekdom101 podcast.
No, I mean, it's a huge rabbit hole. But long story short, without evil in the world, people wouldn't know how to be good. And I've always believed in that statement because you see the evil of what other people do, and although some people might join that evil bandwagon, they also look at the evil people as a way to better themselves. And I think of YouTube competition is, there are a lot of channels that I feel like have hurt the community. But at the same time, though, there are also a lot of people who enjoy that type of content for whatever reason. And if you love that content, who's to tell you what to like? Like you're entitled to like what you like. But going back to the whole competition thing, I actually think competition is healthy for the community because it makes everybody step their game up,
No, and I was just kind of asking you if you, like how you felt, because when Super started, a lot of people started doing videos. Now, you can't say that about me because I started before Super, but, Super, without question, helped me blow up my channel. Like, I feel like had Super never come along, I probably would still have done this full time, but I wouldn't have made as much as I made, and especially in the last year or so.
Right.
And again, I'm not going to disclose that, but it's just funny how there's Quinn. You can vouch for me on this one, but without going into numbers here, how many years do you think it would take of me working a 9-to-5 to make what we make on YouTube?
Yeah, it would take a lot. I mean, I think it would be for most people, but
well, I mean, I'm like, what I'm talking about is when people tell you like, oh, you should get a day job, and they don't even realize how much money we're actually making and how much happier we are doing this, which is that's the whole point of this topic, bro, is when you're about being self-employed, which I'm going to get to in a minute. It's like people who don't do this are always like, oh, you should get a real job. Oh, your channel's dying. Oh, this and that. And what they don't understand, because they're not content creators, they don't know shit. Again, you don't know shit. They're fucking soft cocks. Is that if they knew, they don't know shit about our history, our background. I never want to work. Look, I made a lot of money as an engineer. I never want to do that ever again for the rest of my life. I don't. Can I do it? Yes. Can I be good at it? Yes. I never want to go back. I don't like working for corporate America. I hate it. Is being self-employed more stressful? Yes and no. Sometimes it's more stressful because you're in charge of everything yourself. It's your own business. You do your own taxes. Everything's dependent on you. And like you said earlier, you're at the mercy of the audience and of the algorithm. You are at their mercy. Mm-hmm. They choose whether or not you're hot. Yeah. But it's so much better than having to go into a cubicle. I don't ever want to work cubicle ever again, bro. Like, I don't think people understand what that does to you psychologically. Like, unless you've actually been down the road, and I don't mean you, I mean like, because I don't think, have you ever worked at a cubicle?
No.
Huh?
No. I haven't.
Quinn?
Yeah, I haven't. Okay, I've never worked at one, no.
Well, I have, and when you work at a cubicle, especially one of the ones that's like enclosed in, it really affects you psychologically. Especially somebody like me who's always been very free. Since I was like 10 years old, I used to stay up late and watch TV all night. Like, I was never one of those guys that like working a 9-to-5 ever. It was never me. So, like, being self-employed, even if I was making less than I did as an engineer, I would probably still do it because the freedom, because think about it. What's better? Having to wake up, go to your computer, edit a video. It might take you 12 hours. You might make $500 off that video. Mm-hmm. You might. For real. Yeah. One video. Or getting up, having to brush your teeth, which we should all brush our teeth, but I mean, I'm getting somewhere. Drinking your coffee, having breakfast, taking a shower, putting on a suit, and going into an office for 9 hours where you're going to get treated like you're less than human sometimes. And you have to meet a deadline, and it's high stress, and you can't even check your text messages or your email without somebody fucking talking shit to you or saying, get back on the work. Mm-hmm. You get 2 15-minute breaks and a half-hour lunch. I'm sorry, but I would rather wake up when the fuck I want, eat when the fuck I want, drink whatever the fuck I want, not have to shower until I fucking want to shower, not have to put on fucking a tie. And I look good in a tie, bro. I'm just saying, dude, like the beauty of being self-employed is and I wish everybody could experience it, but not everybody can. And if you can't, that's fine. I mean, as long as you're happy doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? That's the important thing. If you're happy There's people who listen to us who are like lawyers and doctors, you know, or even if you work as a manager for a restaurant or a cook, you know, if you're happy, you're happy, dude. But I'm just saying that I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy.
Right, and
Sorry,
I
we
was just gonna
went off on a
say,
tangent there, bro.
no, I was just gonna say, I think one thing I could add to that is, you know, I think that we have to differentiate between being self-employed on YouTube and being self-employed in general, because in general,
Yes,
I've learned to love this self-employed thing, even though there are some issues. Like, for example, you've learned this, Geekdom, you know, super ending could drastically, like, when you're self-employed, you could go from losing like 80% of your money tomorrow just because of a change in taste, or just because people just don't want to watch your content anymore. And that's the thing that I think most people are going to have to face on YouTube. No matter how many subscribers you have, people are just going to fall out of interest with your content at some point. And your job is to try and make your channel as active as possible to get new viewers to replace the old viewers. That's the number one secret I could tell you guys on YouTube. If you want to make it, you have to get new people to replace the old, because the old people are just going to stop watching. It just happens. You know,
yeah,
taste changes.
or they might stop watching and come back later. You know
yeah,
what I mean, like we talked about that once. Like if some of them go to college, they come back. You know, hey, what's Quaman doing? They might watch 10 of your videos in a row.
And the thing is, you shouldn't be upset with people for stop watching your videos, because things change. People get married, you know, people move, people go to different parts of the world.
I told you this like 3 months ago, bro, when you were going through
and I'm just saying, the people change. And it's stressful to you because it's your business, but at the same time, you also have to understand people just change, and you have to make yourself as good as possible to bring in new ones.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, too, is that when there's different ways of being self-employed, and there's different struggles. Like, let's say you own a restaurant, right? Like, one thing that you and I never have to worry about being online content creators that they do have to worry about is tainted food, fire codes, making sure that all the food is clean, complaints from customers. We get complaints, but the beautiful thing about being an online entrepreneur is they can just unsubscribe and don't have to deal with them ever again. Mm-hmm. If you own a restaurant, we're talking about possible lawsuits if somebody gets sick from your food. So it's like owning a restaurant might be more I'm using that as an example. It might be more stable than YouTube. You might be able to do that for 20 years. In fact, I know people who have done it for 30 years, owning their own restaurant, but there's always going to be that level of stress when you're self-employed. This whole idea of like people that are business owners being stress-free and letting everybody else do the work, that's a very rare case. There are people like that, but it's not as common as people think, dude. Most business owners, especially small businesses, are right there in the trenches, dude. It takes like a gazillionaire to actually sit around and not do anything. You know, even people who are gazillionaires work their asses off, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's for everybody.
So I wanted to go back to that anxiety thing because, you know, I feel like it's something that we kind of deal with when you get to a certain level, and like you said, you're used to making a certain amount of money, and then something bad happens, and you have to come to terms with the fact that, okay, I'm not making as much as before. And I feel like the most important thing to do is to be responsible with your money, dude. That's the way I see it. Like, you know, and then you've made mistakes in the past when it comes to blowing money you shouldn't have blown. And I have too. I just did it when I was a lot younger, before YouTube even existed. You know, I blew money like an idiot at one time in my life. You know what I'm saying? But I think it also comes down to just being responsible. And also, if you come in and do this for a few years and then cash out, you might be able to reinvest that into another business, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And the thing that I think people have to understand is that nobody has a channel that lives forever. I mean, like, there are some channels that last many years, but every YouTube channel is going to decline at some point. No matter how popular they are, you always have to ask yourself this one question. Could you see this channel getting a lot of views 20 years from now? If the answer to that question is no, then that means no channel lasts forever. And I think in accepting your YouTube mortality, it makes you a better content creator.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate with you on this one. Yes, you're right, but at the same time, you have to have that drive to pick up the pieces and keep going, because you have to do everything in your power to stop that from happening. Like with me, you know, it always kind of irritates me, but also makes me laugh when somebody says that I'm running out of ideas. You know, you can't use that on me, and on you as well. But you definitely can't use it on me, because I've produced videos on Geekdom101 about one show, about one television show. I mean, it's like 4 shows, but you know what I mean. It's one brand for 3 years, nonstop, almost every single day, and I've still got a whole backlog of topics that haven't even been covered yet that I'm holding off on because I want to sprinkle them out because you don't want to drop everything in 1 week. You sprinkle them out. And it's so weird that people, like, you can say you're running out of ideas when somebody drops like a truly cringy video, but I try to do informative content, and as of right now, as of this recording, I have uploaded over 1,600 videos. Mm-hmm. I don't know how anybody can say I'm running out of ideas because they said it in 2015, they said it in 2016, said it in 2017. No, I've got ideas, and I think that if you're a content creator, Twitch streamer, whatever, you have to have ideas, and if you don't have enough ideas, you are going to fucking fall apart. You are. I mean, there's other content creators who have told me I don't have any topics, and I say, well, I do. Like, if you can't think of anything, then then maybe your time is up, and it's up to you to come up with more stuff. That's the way I see it. Branding, different series, all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. There's a lot more to it than just making the actual content. And that's one of the things that I learned about YouTube, especially from you and Dino, like that other aspect, like Twitter and Facebook and all that other stuff. Like there's a whole other aspect of YouTube besides just making videos that you got to focus on.
Talk about that. Talk about some of the struggles you've had.
Well, I think, I guess if I were to talk about any of the strengths and struggles, I think it would have to be, you have to learn how to become more social. I've always been a very introvert. You know this better than anybody, Geekdom. I'm extremely private and introverted. And I kind of am one of those guys that I want to make my video, want people to enjoy it, have conversations about them about the video with them, and then just move on with my life. All that extra socializing stuff was kind of tricky because I kind of like keeping to myself. And in becoming a YouTuber, it's trained me that you can't just stay in your bubble. Like, you have to go search for opportunities. You can't wait for the opportunities to come to you. And that's one of the biggest things that I feel like anybody can learn from this.
You've just got to be an entrepreneur, bro. Yeah. Let me ask you a question. What was your first sponsorship, and what was your reaction to getting it? Do you remember?
It's actually funny. The first sponsorship I ever had was a sponsorship my friend... it was a sponsorship about this company called Captex, and it was also a part of this organization that focuses on like selling phone cases called Case Scene. And essentially my friend paid me a couple $100 just to talk about his product in my video, and that's exactly what I did.
So it wasn't like somebody emailed you, it was somebody who you actually knew.
Yeah, that was my first paid sponsorship, and then it went on to Amino and a few other things after that.
Yeah, I think what was the first one that you got, like when you got an email and you said, "Hey, we want to put ads on your video" or whatever? Like, what was you remember that? Was it Amino?
Yeah, I think it was Amino. Yeah.
I think my first one might have been Amino too. I have to go back. I don't remember. I think my first one may have been Amino, and my first big one was one that I got for this game called Best Fiends Forever, which I actually thought was a fun game. Mm-hmm. And I did the sponsorship, and I remember it paid really well. It was one of the best paying sponsorships ever. And when I got the payment, I was like, wow, like this is like awesome. Like, this is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I was like, huh. And then you wonder what some of the big guys like Linus Tech Tips, they get free shit from like AMD and Intel and shit, like Nvidia and shit. Like, you wonder how much they make. But, it's just interesting because, people often ask about getting sponsorships as being a self-employed person. And it's like, when it comes to YouTube anyways, a lot of times they will reach out to you. Mm-hmm. They will. But the important thing is you work with them respectfully, but also you got to respect your own content too, because if they're going to offer you a low-ball deal, I feel you should give them a decent. I'm not going to give away all the secrets on this podcast, bro. I'm not giving it all away. You got to figure that out on your own. But you can't. I don't think you should disrespect your content to where the value of what they're offering you is not worth you putting your neck out there for this company because you'll be associated with them. But at the same time, it all depends on the company, because I've worked with real brands like Verve, Crunchyroll, and Viz, and when it comes to companies like that are established, especially in my sector, that benefits both of us. Whereas if it's some smaller company, you can benefit them more than they can benefit you, and thus you have more leverage. I mean, it's not that difficult to figure out, but it is something that I think some content creators, especially the young ones, kind of struggle with. Do you think that, like, back to the whole business thing, bro, like, how important do you think it is to have, like, business acumen? Because you mentioned doing it full time, but I feel like things like this are just something that you don't have to have a business degree, because I don't have one, but you gotta have some street smarts. I feel you gotta have some kind of business acumen and some kind of pride in your work, dude.
It's funny you say that, Geekdom, because, taking a lot of finance and economics courses in college really helped me with YouTube, and the crazy thing is...
you took courses on this, and I didn't.
Right, and it's funny because, like, and I'm not trying to praise you here, but, like, you talked about a lot of things in regards to YouTube that was naturally covered in my economics classes, and that's what blew my mind, because when I started actually doing YouTube, like, the concept of monopolies and price elasticities and all this really complex stuff, it's really started coming into fruition.
Supply and demand?
Right, like all of these concepts and in-depth things that we learned, and I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible, they were really brought to life when I started doing YouTube, and when more people started doing it, and how people start losing interest the more people get into it, and then they start like handpicking the few that they actually want to watch, as opposed to only being able to watch a certain ones before. And I feel like that honestly made YouTube seem a lot more realistic in terms of just being a hub where people just upload videos.
Let me ask you something about also,
yeah, sure.
You mentioned something I want to talk, oversaturation. So, Roberto Blake, you and I have talked about this, and I want to get your opinion now as opposed to before. Mm-hmm. So, Roberto Blake's talked about how there's no such thing as oversaturation, and I think you and I had a discussion, a few months ago about what would happen when Super ended, and would some of these channels disappear? And some of them did disappear, and a lot of them didn't disappear, but they're doing a lot less content. Some of them are doing like, one video a week. You took a break, and obviously with some people there's personal things, but do you believe in oversaturation? Do you believe, because one thing I've noticed is that there's a lot of movie channels. There's a lot of gaming channels, and I think that while gaming to a degree probably is oversaturated, I think mostly it's because people think it's easy when it's not. Like, what do you think about oversaturation in this market? Like, do you think it's a thing or no?
I do think it is, and I'm just saying that, like, whenever I hear this question, I always kind of think of it from the perspective of a viewer, not the perspective of a YouTube creator. Like, in business, you often have to see the perspective of the consumer as opposed to the supplier. And I was saying to myself, back in the day when it was like Black and Fist who would upload, and yourself and stuff, like, I would be more inclined to watch somebody's video. But when I check my sub feed and then I see Dragon Ball Super episode 68 or 69, and then I see like 20 people who do a review on it, like, I say to myself, well, how many of those guys am I actually going to watch? You see what I'm saying? And then because of oversaturation, it makes you have to think of more creative ways of making your content, because when you have so many people doing things, people are going to be more inclined to not click on your video because they're like, yeah, I've already seen XYZ talk about this. Why do I have to hear this guy talk about it? And that's one of the problems I think is evident with oversaturation.
But it's interesting, though, because I think you're right, but I think some people just like different personalities, too.
Right.
And that's why I think it's important to be creative, because, and one thing that sucks, bro, I want to talk to you about this, is when you work really hard on a video or on a topic that you think is super fucking interesting, and it just doesn't hit with people, man. Like, that's a heartbreak. Like, you're sitting there researching and doing 10, 12 hours of editing, and then the people just don't care, or they don't. It hurts, bro, but it's like, it's almost something that you kind of have to deal with, because if you don't do content that's unique, you're just going to be like everybody else, and then you have more of a chance of being not chosen, you know what I mean, to be viewed. Whereas I think if people go to your channel and you offer something very different, like you said, it's almost like you're the only one doing it. You know what I mean?
No, I agree.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, your thoughts on videos that you've produced that just, like, how do you deal with that? What are your,
I don't know,
honest thoughts, bro? This is the Geekdom101 podcast.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of the best way to word it, because it's like, with videos, they're just so unpredictable, bro. Like, you can never really know how it's going to be. So, I think that one of the best things that I've learned from YouTube, Danny, and I think that this kind of encompasses the entire conversation we've had, is I think the best thing to do is to just upload a video and see what happens. And
yes.
I think
yes.
that's I think that's the best way to answer everything, because if you stress yourself out about how well your video performs, you're going to get burnt out of YouTube. Because there's a lot of videos I've worked on that I put a lot of work into that didn't get a lot of views. And there were some videos that I put no effort into that blew up. And there's no way you can predict how it's going to go. So what I say is put a good amount of effort into every video. And if it blows up or if it fails, no matter what, always put that same energy into it so that whoever watches it respects you. Because that's the only way to do it, dude.
Yeah, it's one thing Roberto Blake said, don't worry so much about views and subs. Worry about pleasing the ones that are there, you know, and that's kind of, like, I feel the same way. Yeah. I agree with you. It really is. But sometimes, you know, when you're growing, you fall into that trap of, oh, my God, I'm not gaining enough subs. Oh, my God, I'm not getting enough views. It's something that you fall into, dude. And everybody falls into it. I don't care what anybody says. Everyone falls into it. Sometimes you just have to sit back and say, okay, look, it's all right. You're okay as long as you have the lights on. Because you know what I find interesting about all of this, bro, is
what's up?
We as people spend so much time worrying about what people think about us that we're never going to meet. Yeah. It's so weird. And it's like, I love all of my subscribers, especially the loyal ones, especially the ones at KamehaCon. And you know, because I actually met them. That's different. But the vast majority of my subs, I'm never going to meet them. Which is unfortunate, but it's just how it is. You know, some of them live in other continents. But, like, you know, but it's like, I think that, like, people are so scared to, you know, be themselves. And that's the thing, is you really can't even be yourself because you get criticized over everything. You can't make a joke without somebody calling you a name or labeling you. It's just the pussified world that we live in. And this world's filled with pussies, bro. Everybody's a pussy nowadays. And it's like, you know, it's hard to kind of do that. But it's also one of those things where if somebody leaves a comment on your video saying that, you know, fuck you, this video sucks, or whatever they say, you know, yeah, it might bug you for a bit, but you're never going to meet that person. You know, and they're not going to say it to your face. You guys are all pussies, bro. They're not going to ever say to your face your shit sucks, bro. Yeah. People knew for a year I would host KamehaCon. There were 9,000 people in that building. Everybody had an opportunity to come shake my hand and spit in my face, and everybody shook my hand. Nobody spit in my face, bro. Yeah. And I'm not even a tough guy. I was tired all weekend. But you would have whooped my ass if somebody fought me that weekend. I was so damn tired, bro. I was fucking tired, bro. Yeah. I was limping by the third day, bro. I was so fucking tired, dude.
With Tim's?
I was like a zombie. And it's like... And not a single, because it's all keyboard shit. It's just, you know, it's just sad that people do that. But it's one of those things where, like, you know, the anxiety kicks in and you're like, oh, man, like, am I failing? And most of the time it's all in your head. I mean, yeah, sometimes, you know, you're right. Your channel does go down. But I don't think it's ever too late to turn that ship around, bro. I think most of the time people do give up too soon. And I think if you're out there trying to do this for a living, don't give up too soon, dude. Look, here's my perspective on this. If content creation is ruining your personal or financial growth, that's when it's time to quit. If you are avoiding going to college and getting a job because you're trying to grow your YouTube channel and you're not making a full-time living on YouTube yet, go get a job. Don't end up starving and eating ramen noodles. Do something about it. Do something. But I feel like, and I'm going to ask you about something related to this in a minute here, but I feel like so many people just give up too soon, bro. And it's like, you can always bounce back. You can always come back. But again, when you're dealing with things like depression, real life depression, or when you're dealing with things like personal problems, sometimes you just don't want to come back. It sucks, but sometimes you just don't want to.
Right. No, I agree. And it, like I said,
some of our friends.
I think the creative juice thing is really the point, because, like, like I said, like YouTube is all about creative juice, and if you guys ever do this for a living, you will understand exactly what I mean. There is a complete difference of doing a job purely based off of creativity and trying to appease you, as opposed to having a job that will always be beneficial to society. Because this is essentially entertainment, and when you're doing entertainment, you always have that risk of people just might not like you anymore, and your channel dies.
Here's the thing, though. But with what we do, though, we're lucky enough that we can actually get both. Because we can make videos that are satisfying for us and for other people. Whether it be 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, or a million, other people will watch and give it a chance. We've always got... That's one thing about this that we have to talk about, too. We've all got the hardcores. We've got the ones that will watch everything we do. And to me, those are the most important people. I would say out of my channel... You know, right now I have about 540,000 subscribers. Only about 40,000 of those, or 50,000, are truly like hardcore. Like, they watch everything I upload. And they might not be around forever. And I think some of them are listening to this right now. And I respect them because they love me and I love them. And they're the ones I really care about. They're the ones who I actually care about, because at the end of the day, if you strip away the sub count, let's say that YouTube sub count only counted for actual subscribers who watch your videos, not people who just subscribe and don't watch. 50,000 is a lot of fucking people, dude. That's like a football stadium right there, you know. And it's like, or 40,000 or 30,000 or 20,000, even 1,000. You know how many people 1,000 is? Yeah. And it's like sometimes you have to just strip all the bullshit numbers away and be like, who really like cares about me? Like, who's really there? You know, I want to ask you about the excuses, bro. All right, so every day I hear somebody say, I can't do YouTube because I have a job, I have a girlfriend, I'm going to school, and it's always a fucking excuse. Yeah. Look, there's no excuse. You can make time, even if it means losing sleep, even if it means not watching your favorite movie or favorite video game, you know, once a weekend. I just refuse to believe, bro, that somebody can be so busy that they don't have enough time. There's always something deeper going on, because I was in a relationship and I was working full time and I was doing YouTube all at the same time. Some of our friends were going to school and still producing YouTube videos. Okay. Some other friends of ours, like Mark, Real to Real, he goes to school and he works and he produces YouTube and he has a girlfriend. He's got all four. There's just no excuse, bro. Yeah.
I mean, it depends on... I will say this much, though. Like, the more free time you have, the better you could probably make your videos. Like,
agreed.
Because, like... And the other thing, too, is that if you also have editors, like, there's a bunch of different things that, you know, you have to factor into the equation. But I would definitely say more time is better, but I do think everybody could put at least some time into YouTube. Because it's not that difficult. You don't have to put fancy editing into every video, you know?
What do you think is the scariest thing about being self-employed, bro?
Besides
Uncle Sam.
The fact that because of how... I guess you could say YouTube, you're kind of on eggshells, like with copyright strikes, with people's taste changing. You could literally lose your entire channel tomorrow, and there would be no preparation you'd have for it. The good thing about YouTube is that I get paid slow, so like I get paid for like the last 2 months the next month. So because of that, I already kind of know what my next 2 paychecks are going to look like before I even get paid on YouTube, which is a great thing because I can prepare for the future. But other than those paychecks, I would pretty much be screwed. And that's one of the problems that I think everybody has to face. Your income or anything could immediately change because of one thing. Your network could randomly decide to kick you out. Anything could happen, and you just have to be prepared for it.
How do you feel about multi-channel networks for new YouTubers?
I don't think it's necessary for them at all. I don't think... if you're joining YouTube and you could do this without a network, don't do it. I'd say only join a network if you have had problems with YouTube and you want more security. But for new channels, I don't recommend it at all. It's just a waste of money.
Not to mention, when you're a new channel, you have no leverage.
And they're going to bully you.
They're going to bully you. They're going to say, oh, we'll take 20% or 30% of how much money you make. Yep. I mean, there's somebody who we knew, I'm not going to name him, because I don't want to embarrass them, but they had a 60-40 deal, bro. Like, that's horrible. Like, you're only making 60% of your videos. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, they will. Like, it's just there's no point. Yeah. There are some good ones out there, but a lot of them are just trying to add to their database, and it's not good.
And see, the thing is, I'm not going to call out the name of that person you're talking about, Geekdom, but that kind of goes back to myself and the whole thing of that was a very young YouTuber who that happened to, and the same thing happened to me when I was turning this into a business, and they will know that. Like, these networks know that a lot of people who do these YouTube things are younger people. Like, YouTube is a generally young thing. I mean, there are older people who have big channels, but because you're young, they're going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, they will. They'll see you coming, and they'll try to undercut you, and you're like, hey, I'm making money. I'm happy. Yeah. Now realizing you could be making a lot more. Yeah. And that goes back to business acumen. I think that communicating with your fellow YouTubers and content creators is very helpful. I think surrounding yourself with smart people, even those who are smarter than you and more successful than you, I think is very smart. Mm-hmm. And the other thing you have to also understand, and I've always said this, to be very humble. You know, anybody who's ever met me, whether it be for 5 minutes or whether it be for on the phone for 5 hours, knows that I have no ego. Like, I don't have a big ego. Anybody who says I have a big ego, it's a myth. It's a myth that stupid fucking people make because they can't figure out what's wrong with me, so they got to say I have a big ego or whatever. And I say that to say this. You got to stay humble, because if you make it all about the numbers, you're going to get caught up, and then when your numbers don't hit where they're supposed to hit, you're going to go through a fucking depression. You're going to be questioning yourself. Whereas I feel like if you look at somebody else, like, I'll give you an example. There are a few YouTubers I know who make a tremendous living. I'm talking about 6-figure incomes, and don't even get like 10,000 views a video. And people are like, how? How is that possible? Because they use YouTube as a platform to sell something else. If you have an exercise program and you want to use YouTube as a way to promote that program, yeah, you might not get that much AdSense revenue, which is good because AdSense revenue is very unstable. But you might sell your book, your personal fitness program, your DVDs, and make a crap ton of money. And it's just one of those things, dude, where, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at a channel that's small or smaller than you and they aren't getting the views you're getting, but they're doing something different, you never know how much money they actually have.
Yeah. So just guessing, bro. You'll never know.
There's so many factors that go into how much you get paid. Like, there's certain people, and I'm not gonna call, but there are certain people on YouTube that get way more views than me but make less because of how many ads they have in their videos. And then there are people who get less views that make more than me. Like, you never will know how much a person really makes. There's a million factors, and that's the thing. There's a million
factors.
The thing also,
I will say this. Yeah. There's also where you live. People in South America, like we talked about this.
Ad rates.
Ad rates, yeah. Okay, so in South America, in Latin America, there are content creators that cover Dragon Ball, like me and Quinn do, that make 1 million views per review. We might get at the most 500,000, usually less than that, 200,000, 100,000, 50,000 per review for like Super. They get 1 million. And yet they make a quarter of what we make because the advertising rates are low. And also there are some YouTubers that are based in America who have these outrageous freaking numbers, but most of their audience is overseas. So they don't even make that much money. It's very... You have no idea how much or how little we make unless you actually talk to us. And we tell you, which we're probably not going to tell you.
And the funny thing is about that is like, that's probably the most common question I've gotten in my life as a YouTuber. Everybody wants to know how much money you make. And I don't lie when I say it depends. Like, some months you can make a bunch. Like in late in the year for like October, November, December, you'll make way more than you make in January, February, March. And then like in the summer, like around June, July, you'll make way more than you make, in April. So like, you will never know.
There's a million factors that go into this, guys.
Let's close out with this, bro. So you've been self-employed for 4 years, and I know you want to go back to school, right? Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that? And kind of what I wanted to ask you is, okay, you want to go back to school. Why? Like, because you want to leave being self-employed, or do you want to eventually come back into being self-employed anyways?
Well, my thing is with school is that I'm pretty much only 17 credits away from finishing, so like it's easy for me to just easily go in and just take a few classes and finish that up and get my degree. And also because although YouTube is a great thing, I also understand that it has a shelf life. So because of that, you always got to prepare for the future if else fails. But at the same time, though, it's a great opportunity to ride out now because it's just fun. And
you've also got to have a backup. Like for me,
Yeah.
it's backwards. Like I have my engineering degrees and all that, but that's my backup. This is just more fun and more fulfilling creatively.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
I mean, when you graduate, like if YouTube and Twitch are still lucrative, are you still gonna do them?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm happy doing it, yeah, I would. Because happiness is, I think, the number one thing, guys. Like, you could be making $1 million a year off of YouTube. If you're not happy doing it, then it's not worth you doing it. Like happiness is a major thing. But if you're happy, do it.
What makes you happy?
I don't know, man.
What makes you happy? What makes you happy?
I don't know, man. My happiness is very weird, but like I guess in general, what makes me happy is just security of my situation. When I don't feel secure, that's when I feel like I feel like I'm like walking on
Anxiety.
eggshells. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I've always told everybody, man, my thing is about being peaceful. Like I like being peaceful. I like chilling. I don't go out and pick fights with people. I don't go out and get drunk. I don't ever do any of that. I just like to sit at home. And I mean, I'm not saying that I don't go out. I do go out, but I'm saying I don't go out and pick fights, or hang out with drug addicts. I mean, I have in the past when I was younger, I've had friends that have very checkered pasts. Just put it that way, who aren't exactly squeaky clean. Okay, and I'll talk more about that on future episodes of this podcast. But right now, I'm in a stage in my life, bro, where I don't want any trouble, bro. I just want to do my little videos at home and just chill and not deal with any drama.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you're doing the content creation at a competitive rate, you are going to run into drama at some point. You can't escape it. There's going to be some kind of, again, if you're a YouTuber in a competitive market, you're going to run into drama. It's just going to happen. There's not a single YouTuber I know that hasn't been involved in some kind of drama, whether it be their fault or not. That's just how it is. The important thing is realizing it just passes,
Yeah.
Go ahead and plug whatever you want to plug, bro. I mean, you haven't been around in a while. Your social media is closed, but I think some people know you, and hopefully we've been able to inspire people to not be so afraid to try this and become self-employed and just, read up on it. Read up on taxes, self-employment tax, watch videos, Roberto Blake's videos, Tim Schmoyer's on doing full-time YouTube. You can be happy talking about cartoons and movies if that's what you like to talk about. If you like playing the instrument, I just don't want people to give up on their dream, dude. That's what I don't want. There's a way to make money at anything if you're good at it. That's the way I see it.
I agree. So my name's Quaman, Detective Q, Raider Q. Like, I have like a million names, but pretty much you've probably seen me before on Geekdom's channel, and I'd love to see you come over. I got some good content coming your way.
All right. So it's Quaman on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for checking out the Geekdom101 podcast. Next time, we're going to get into some nerd topics. I'm not going to reveal what it is yet, but we're going to talk about some real geek stuff here and some nostalgia stuff coming up. I got some video game related episodes. It's going to be a lot of fun here. Thank you for allowing me onto your smartphone device or computer. Hope y'all have a good one, and it's just going to get wackier from here on out. This was more of a serious kind of topic, more of an inspirational topic, but things are going to get a little wacky as time goes by and we start covering some wacky geek stuff. So I love y'all, and I'll see you soon.
Adios, amigos.